When I discovered my husband was planning to divorce me, I quietly moved all my assets. A week later, he filed the papers, then panicked when his scheme totally collapsed. I never thought I'd be telling this story on the internet, but here we are. My name's Sarah, and until last year, I was living what I believed was a pretty good life with my husband, Michael. We'd been married for 8 years. The house in the suburbs of Boston, the yearly vacations to Maine, the dinner parties with friends where everyone would say we were couple goals. Michael worked in finance, I had my own graphic design business, and from the outside, everything looked perfect. But you know how they say hindsight is 20/20? Looking back, the signs were there for months. Little things that seemed innocent enough at the time. Michael started taking phone calls in another room, which was new. He'd never done that before. "Just work stuff, babe," he'd say with that smile that used to make me feel safe. Then came the late nights at the office, the weekend emergencies with clients, and the sudden password changes on his laptop and phone. I'm not normally the suspicious type, honestly. Maybe that was my first mistake. I kept telling myself I was imagining things when I'd catch him quickly switching screens when I walked into the room. My friend Jenna kept saying, "Sarah, something's off," but I'd defend him every time. "He's just stressed about the Stevens account," I'd say. Or his boss is really writing him about these quarterly numbers, okay? God, it was so naive. Then came that Tuesday morning in April. Michael had already left for work and I was checking my email when I saw it. A notification from our joint credit card. "Thank you for your payment to Callahan Family Law." My stomach dropped. We didn't have any family legal matters pending. None. I stared at that email for what felt like hours, my coffee going cold beside me. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. That night, I asked him about it casually over dinner. "Hey, what was that charge to Callahan Family Law?" His fork froze halfway to his mouth, just for a split second before he recovered. "Oh, that? Brad at work needed a recommendation for his sister's divorce, so I paid for her consultation as a favor." The explanation sounded rehearsed. Too smooth. And Michael never just did favors like that for coworkers. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something in my gut told me my marriage was in trouble, but I had no idea just how calculated Michael's plan actually was. I waited until the following weekend when Michael said he had to go into the office for a few hours. The moment his car pulled out of the driveway, I went straight to his desk. I'm not proud of snooping, but something told me I needed to protect myself. His laptop was there, and, miraculously, he'd forgotten to log out. My hands were shaking as I clicked through his emails, feeling like I was in some bad movie. Then I found it, an entire folder labeled D Process, tucked away in a subfolder. What I saw made me physically sick. There were emails going back 3 months between Michael and his lawyer discussing divorce strategy. "We need to establish a pattern of financial control before filing," one email read. Another outlined a detailed plan to gradually move money into accounts I didn't know about. There was even a spreadsheet titled Asset Division with 2 columns, Michael and Sarah. His column contained nearly everything we owned. Mine had our old furniture and my failing business. His words, not mine. He'd been planning this for months, calculating how to leave me with nothing. I remember sliding down to the floor, my back against the desk, trying to breathe. 8 years together, and this was who he really was? Someone who could methodically plan to destroy me financially while smiling at me across the dinner table. I found evidence he'd already moved nearly $40,000, 0 cents from our joint savings. There were discussions about how to devalue our home equity on paper. He'd even researched ways to make my business appear unprofitable during divorce proceedings. The worst part was finding messages between him and someone named Diane. "Just a few more weeks, baby," he'd written. "Once the papers are filed, we can stop sneaking around." There were hotel receipts, plans for trips they'd take. "After it's all settled." My husband wasn't just planning to divorce me, he was replacing me, and had been for who knows how long. I called Jenna in tears. She came over immediately, bringing ice cream and a level head when mine was spinning out of control. "Don't confront him yet," she said, taking pictures of everything I'd found. "If he knows that you know, he'll just accelerate his plans or hide things better." She was right. I needed to be strategic, not emotional. So while my heart was breaking, my brain started working. Michael had always underestimated me. He thought I was too trusting, too naive to catch on or fight back. That was about to become his biggest mistake. The next morning, while Michael was whistling in the shower like a man without a care in the world, I called Laura Miller, a family lawyer my friend had used during her divorce. "I need an emergency consultation today," I whispered into the phone from inside my car in the grocery store parking lot. By noon, I was sitting in her office, showing her everything I'd photographed. "Sarah, you've caught this just in time," Laura said, her expression serious as she reviewed Michael's emails. "He's been planning what we call divorce planning, deliberately hiding assets before filing. It's not just dishonest. Some of what he's doing crosses into illegal territory." She explained that courts take a very dim view of spouses who hide assets, but first, I needed to protect what was left. We developed a counter-strategy that same day. Step 1, establish my own financial identity separate from Michael. I opened new bank accounts at a different bank using my brother Robert's address for the paperwork. "Don't use your home address for anything," Laura had advised. "Michael can't know what you're doing until it's done." Robert, who works in accounting, took a day off to help me navigate the financial maze Michael had created. "This inheritance from Grandma," Robert pointed out, looking at our financial records. "He never had any right to that money. It was specifically left to you." That afternoon, we moved my $75,000, 0 cents inheritance that had been sitting in our joint savings into my new secure account. I also transferred my business income into a separate business account Michael couldn't access. Each night after these financial maneuvers, I'd come home, cook dinner, and pretend everything was normal while my heart pounded in my chest. Laura helped me document everything, every account, every asset, every piece of evidence of Michael's deception. "Keep a record of when he comes and goes," she advised, "and start putting aside cash from grocery trips, small amounts he won't notice." I began withdrawing an extra $40, 0 cents here, $60, 0 cents there, when buying groceries. Within 2 weeks, I had a cash emergency fund hidden in a box of tampons, the one place I knew Michael would never look. The hardest part was maintaining the facade at home. Each morning, kiss goodbye, each "how was your day" felt like a performance. Sometimes at night, I'd look at Michael sleeping next to me and wonder how someone could share a bed with someone they were plotting against. Once, he caught me staring and asked what was wrong. "Just thinking about how life can change so quickly," I said. He had no idea how prophetic those words would prove to be. Meanwhile, Laura and I prepared for every scenario. We documented the true value of our home, our vehicles, our investments. I gathered proof of my contributions to our marriage, how my business had supported us during Michael's career dry spell 3 years earlier, how my connections had landed him his current position, all while he continued sneaking off to text Diane, completely oblivious that his perfect plan was being dismantled piece by piece. It was exactly 8 days after I'd secured the last of my accessible assets that Michael finally made his move. I remember it perfectly, a Wednesday evening in May. He came home late, looking solemn but with this weird undercurrent of excitement he was trying to hide. I was sketching designs for a client at the kitchen table when he sat down across from me with this rehearsed sigh. "Sarah, we need to talk," he said, placing a manila folder between us. "I haven't been happy for a long time. I think we both know this isn't working anymore." His speech sounded practiced, like he'd been rehearsing it in the car. I set my pencil down and just looked at him, saying nothing, which seemed to throw him off. Script? He expected tears, pleading maybe. Instead, he got calm silence. "I've filed for divorce," he continued, pushing the folder toward me. "These are the papers. I think you'll find the terms are fair." The slight smirk that flickered across his face when he said fair made my blood boil. But Laura had prepared me for this moment. I didn't touch the folder, didn't even look at it. "Okay," I said simply. Just that one word. The confusion on his face was almost worth all the pain of the past few weeks. This wasn't how his script was supposed to play out. I was supposed to be blindsided, devastated, begging him to reconsider. "That's it? Okay?" he asked, his composure cracking slightly. I shrugged. I said, "Okay, I'll have my lawyer review these tomorrow." The word lawyer hit him like a slap. His eyes narrowed. "Your lawyer? Since when do you have a lawyer?" There was an edge to his voice now, the first hint that things weren't proceeding according to his master plan. "Since I thought it might be necessary," I replied, still keeping my voice neutral as I stood up to make tea, like this was a discussion about weekend plans rather than the end of our marriage. "Oh, and if these papers mention the Riverside property or my grandmother's inheritance, they're going to need some corrections." The color drained from his face. These were specifically items he'd planned to claim I had no right to. He recovered quickly, though, his finance guy confidence taking over. "Everything's clearly outlined according to state law. My attorney is very thorough." "I'm sure he is," I nodded, dropping a tea bag into my mug. "So is Laura Miller." I purposely named one of the most respected divorce attorneys in the city, watching recognition dawn in his eyes. That night, I heard him on the phone in the guest room, his voice urgent, as he presumably updated Diane on this unexpected development. The panic was just beginning. The first meeting with our lawyers was scheduled for the following Monday morning. Michael spent the weekend alternating between ignoring me completely and making strange attempts at casual conversation, like asking if I'd seen his blue tie or commenting on the weather. His phone kept buzzing with texts, which he'd check frantically before typing rapid responses. I could practically see the wheels spinning as he tried to figure out exactly how much I knew. When we arrived at the law offices, Michael walked in with this manufactured confidence, nodding to his attorney like they shared some private joke. That confidence evaporated exactly 4 minutes into the meeting, when Laura calmly placed a folder on the table containing copies of every email, every account transfer, and every plan Michael had made to hide our marital assets. "As you can see," Laura said, her voice professional but with a hint of steel, "we have comprehensive documentation of Mr. Johnson's systematic attempt to conceal marital property, including the unauthorized transfer of $42,500.00 from joint accounts, the intentional undervaluation of the Riverside property, and his attempts to divert business opportunities to shell companies before filing." Michael's lawyer, an older man who'd clearly been around the block, glanced through the evidence, then gave Michael a look that could freeze lava. Nothing quite like watching your own attorney realize you've been lying to them too. "I think we should take a brief recess," Michael's lawyer said tightly. They disappeared into a conference room where even through the closed door we could hear raised voices. When they returned, Michael looked like he might throw up. The facade completely collapsed over the next few days. Michael's phone calls started that same night, first angry, "How dare you go behind my back?" then panicky as reality set in. By the third call, he was almost pleading, "Sarah, let's talk about this reasonably. Maybe we move too quickly here." The best moment came when he discovered I'd already recovered the money he'd hidden in the secret account under his brother's name. "How did you even find that?" he sputtered over the phone. I just smiled to myself, thinking of Robert's financial expertise. Michael had always treated my family like they were simple compared to his sophisticated friends. Another miscalculation. His texts to Diane must have changed too, because she showed up at our house unannounced one evening, demanding to speak to Michael. "I was promised a fresh start, not this legal nightmare," she yelled from the doorway. I almost felt sorry for her when I realized Michael had promised her our house, a house that was now documented as being purchased primarily with my inheritance money. She leapt in tears after I calmly showed her the mortgage documents with my name prominently featured. Michael's final desperate move came when he tried to claim my business was actually his idea and that he deserved half its value. Laura shut that down with a simple filing. Copies of my business plan from 2 years before I even met Michael, along with proof that he'd never contributed a single dollar to its development. His lawyer advised him to drop that claim immediately. The divorce was finalized 3 months later, and let's just say the judge wasn't impressed with Michael's financial shenanigans. Not only did I keep my business, my inheritance, and 70% of our joint assets. But Michael was ordered to pay my legal fees due to his deliberate attempt to defraud the marital estate. The look on his face when the judgment was read still gives me a little spark of satisfaction on tough days. As for Diane, she stuck around just long enough to discover that Michael's promises of luxury vacations and a lavish lifestyle were built on money he no longer had access to. Last I heard through mutual friends, she left him for a real estate developer in Phoenix. Sometimes karma works faster than expected. The hardest part wasn't losing Michael. Once I saw who he truly was, that love had already died. The hardest part was rebuilding my sense of trust, not just in others, but in my own judgment. How had I missed so many red flags? My therapist says that's common with manipulative partners. They don't start showing their true colors until they think they have you cornered. Today, I'm running my business, which is actually thriving now that I don't have someone secretly undermining my confidence. I've moved to a smaller place closer to the city, somewhere with no memories of my old life. Robert and Jenna still check in on me regularly, though they've stopped treating me like I might break at any moment. The most important lesson I've learned? Financial independence isn't just about having your own money. It's about knowing where every dollar is at all times, even in a marriage. Trust is beautiful, but verification is essential. And if your gut tells you something is wrong, listen to it the first time. It might just save you from becoming a cautionary tale, or in my case, help you flip the script on someone else's cautionary tale.